The glass didn't break when she dropped it. It wobbled across the kitchen tile like it was deciding whether to explode. But it didn't. It just rolled, slow and hollow, until it tapped against the fridge. That's when she finally looked at me. Her eyes were still smudged with mascara, lips dry, one earring missing. Her dress was backward, tags sticking out over her collarbone. And for some reason, that hurt more than anything. "Where were you?" I asked again, this time quieter. She blinked. Then, like I'd asked her something absurd, she laughed. Just a short, bitter exhale. "It was just one night," she said. I wish I could say I screamed or flipped the table or did something dramatic and powerful. But I didn't. I just stood there, in socks, holding her coffee mug in both hands like an idiot. The mug said wifey. She walked past me without another word, pulled open the fridge, and stood there for so long I started to wonder if she even remembered I was in the room. When she finally turned around, she said the thing that snapped something in me. "I didn't think you'd be up this early." That was it. Not "I'm sorry." Not "it's not what you think." Not even a lie. Just a logistical miscalculation. And here's the thing. I already knew. Before the glass, before the dress, before the silent fridge standoff. I knew at exactly 1:42 a.m. when her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I wasn't snooping. It lit up in the dark. Big and blue and bold. "Kyler, you wild for that face with tears of joy sweat droplets." I don't even know what that means. But I knew what it meant. She had gone out for drinks with her team. She had danced, laughed, leaned in too close. She had made a choice. Maybe 100 of them. And she thought she could crawl back into this house, this bed, this marriage, like it was all some hazy detour she could sleep off. But something was different this time. I was different. And I was about to do something I never thought I had the nerve to do. She sat down at the table like we were about to talk about groceries. Didn't apologize. Didn't even ask what I saw. Just poured herself orange juice with shaking hands and started drinking like it would wash the night off her lips. I watched her fingers, red smudges on the inside of her wrist, tiny glitter flakes under her nails. I used to think glitter was fun, something she'd wear to holiday parties or concerts. Now it felt like evidence. DNA from someone else's night. "You smell like him," I said. She froze. That finally made her look up. Not wide-eyed, not scared, just surprised. As if I wasn't supposed to say anything. As if I was supposed to stay in my quiet husband box, nod, make eggs, and act like her coworker didn't still have his cologne all over her skin. "I don't know what you think happened," she mumbled, her voice hoarse. "Then tell me." She stared down into her glass for a long time, then said something so absurd, I genuinely thought I misheard her. "Nothing I did should make you throw away our whole life." That sentence. That one sentence. That's when I realized she wasn't sorry at all. To her, this was a hiccup, a speed bump, something to be gaslit into the rearview mirror. She got up, walked over to the sink, and started rinsing the glass like we were done talking. Like this was over. "I should have stayed out longer," she muttered under her breath. I snapped. Not loudly, not violently, just inside. Quiet, invisible devastation. The kind that doesn't break dishes, it breaks people. I walked to the bedroom, opened the top drawer of her dresser, and pulled out the little envelope I'd hidden there for months. A letter. One I wrote back when I first felt her slipping away. I never planned to give it to her. But now, I think part of me wanted her to read it and feel what it's like to lose something without even realizing it was going. I walked back into the kitchen, dropped the letter on the counter beside her juice, and said, "Read it." She didn't touch it at first, just stared at the envelope like it might explode. "I'm not playing games with you, Clive," she said coldly. "No, you're not playing. You're done playing. That's the difference." And I walked out the door, still in pajamas, still shaking. No plan, just gone. And still, she didn't call. I expected my phone to ring before I even reached the sidewalk. She always called, even when she was mad, even when she didn't mean it. Once years ago, I stormed out because she said she wished I were less sensitive. I barely made it to the corner before she texted, "Come back." I didn't mean that. You know I'm awful when I'm tired. But this time, nothing. I walked for 2 hours. No jacket. Just socks and slides and a hoodie that still smelled like the dryer sheet from last week's laundry. I looked ridiculous. But you don't think about how stupid you look when your marriage is rotting from the inside out. Around 11 a.m., I sat on a bench outside the pharmacy near Ridgewood Avenue and stared at the traffic like it might give me answers. She didn't cheat because she was drunk. She didn't cheat because she was lonely. She cheated because she could. And deep down, I think she believed I'd never leave. That's what messed me up the most. That quiet certainty in her eyes. Like no matter what happened, I'd still be there. Like I was just some piece of furniture in her life. Stable, dependable, unmoving. So I decided not to go home. I texted my friend Theo, asked if I could crash. He said yes instantly. No questions. I think he heard it in my voice. He didn't ask if I was okay, just sent his address and said the spare key was under the rock shaped like a turtle. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I missed her, but because I couldn't stop wondering how many nights like this had happened without me knowing. How many girls' nights were actually Kyler nights? How many times had I kissed her after someone else already had? The letter I gave her, it wasn't a confession. It wasn't even an accusation. It was a list. A list of everything I still loved about her. I wrote it on a Tuesday 3 months ago, right after she fell asleep on the couch in the middle of a baking show. She had a strand of dough in her hair and her phone still in her hand. I remember thinking, she's slipping away, and I don't know how to stop it. So I made a list. She probably didn't even read it. Probably tossed it in the sink with her juice. But something unexpected happened the next morning. Theo woke me up with his phone in his hand. "You might want to see this," he said. He showed me a post on Facebook. It was mail-in. Public. No privacy settings. No filter. It was a photo of our wedding. And the caption said, "I messed up. I don't know how to fix this." For a second, I felt something close to hope. Seeing that post, that picture, that caption, I almost let myself believe it meant something. That she understood the weight of what she'd done. That maybe, just maybe, there was a version of this where we survived it. But then I read the comments. "Everyone makes mistakes, girl. He'll forgive you. Men are so dramatic, it was one night. My ex did worse, and I stayed. Real love takes work." Dozens of them. Women who didn't know me. Strangers giving her sympathy like she tripped and scraped her knee. Like I was the overreacting husband who couldn't handle a little betrayal. And the worst part? She liked every single one. No defense of me. No explanation. Just quiet, passive agreement. That's when the switch flipped. That's when the numbness turned into something else. It wasn't rage. I wasn't yelling or throwing things or burning photos in Theo's kitchen sink. It was colder than that. It was final. She wasn't trying to repair anything. She was trying to control the narrative. Rewrite the story before I could even speak. Make me the villain before anyone asked questions. The next day, she messaged me. No call. No voice. Just a message that said, "Can we talk?" That's it. No punctuation. No emotion. Just 4 words that felt like a trap. I didn't answer. 2 hours later, another one came in. "Please. I don't want this to get worse than it already is." Worse? Worse? That's when I realized she still didn't get it. She thought the worst part was me leaving. Not the cheating. Not the lies. Not the way she looked at me like I was wallpaper. No. To her, the real tragedy was losing the version of me that made her life easier. But I wasn't that guy anymore. That night, I went home. Not to move back in. Just to look her in the eyes. The lights were off when I got there, but she was awake. Sitting in the dining room, phone in one hand, wine glass in the other. Our wedding album opened in front of her like some prop in a Netflix drama. She looked up like I'd just walked in from a business trip. "I didn't think you'd actually come," she said. "I'm not staying," I replied. She blinked, and for a split second, I saw something like fear in her eyes. Not fear of me, but of what came next, of what she couldn't control anymore. "I read the letter," she whispered. "Why would you give me that knowing what I did?" I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her, really looked. At the person I used to trust more than anyone. And I said, "Because I wanted you to know what you broke." Her lip quivered. For the first time in years, she looked like she might actually cry for real. But before a tear could fall, she said the line that made everything crystal clear. I don't even remember all of it. That night. The hotel. I was drunk. I didn't mean. Stop. My voice was low, but firm. "If you're about to make this about what you don't remember, then we're done here." And I walked out again. Except this time, I took the wedding album with me. The next time I saw my name mentioned, it wasn't in a text. It was in a group chat I wasn't even supposed to be in anymore. Theo's fiancée, Renee, had forgotten to remove me from their old game night crew group. I hadn't spoken in it for months. Never left, never posted. Just lurked in the background like a ghost in a digital attic. But there it was. A screenshot someone shared from Malin's Instagram story. It was a black background with white text, like some passive-aggressive obituary. It hurts when someone you built your world around walks away and doesn't even look back. I'm not perfect, but I never expected cruelty. 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 I stared at that word so long it stopped looking like English. And then the comments rolled in. Heart emojis. You're so strong. If he left like that, he never deserved you anyway. Men don't know how to handle powerful women. I didn't say anything. I didn't fight it. I didn't defend myself. I just screenshotted it. Sent it to Theo. No caption. He called me 5 minutes later. Furious. Said she was spiraling. That she was telling mutual friends I had emotionally neglected her for years. That her version of the story was already spreading, carefully sanitized. In her retelling, I was cold, distant, emotionally unavailable. Meanwhile, she was just a woman trying to feel loved again. The worst part? People bought it. Because it sounded believable. Because I am quiet. I am awkward. I don't do grand gestures or long speeches. I fold laundry and fill up her car when the tank's low and leave sticky notes on her mirror when I know she has a hard meeting coming. But none of that matters if the story she tells is louder. So I decided to be loud. I wrote my own post. One sentence. No names. No drama. Some people don't regret cheating. They regret getting caught. I let it sit there. No comments turned on. No hashtags. No story attached. And still, it spread like wildfire. People knew. Even without names. Even without context. And that's when I got the message. From Kyler. Yeah, that Kyler. It was short. Almost too casual. Hey man, can we talk? I didn't mean for any of this to go down like it did. I didn't reply, but my hands were shaking. Not because I wanted to punch him. Not even because I hated him. But because part of me wanted to hear what lie he was about to serve me. I wasn't planning to answer him. I didn't want to give him that satisfaction. But the thing is, curiosity is poison. It seeps in slow, pretends to be control, then wraps around your brain like a snake. And eventually, you're not doing it for revenge. You're doing it because you need to understand. So I agreed. We met at a diner near the outskirts of town. Neutral ground. Bright lights. Windows everywhere. Somewhere too public for either of us to blow up. He wore sunglasses. Inside. Like this was some mob meeting. And when he saw me walk in, he stood up, smiled, and said, Clive, man, I'm glad you came. I didn't shake his hand. Didn't even pretend to be polite. He slid into the booth across from me, uninvited. Ordered coffee like this was just a casual catch-up with an old friend. Then leaned forward and said the sentence that nearly made me walk out before the waitress even brought menus. Listen, I didn't know how serious you two still were. My laugh was involuntary. Just this ugly bark that came out of my throat like a reflex. We're married, I said, staring dead into his face. What exactly does serious mean to you? He had the audacity to shrug. I mean, she always said things were complicated. Like on the rocks. I figured. You figured what? I snapped. That it didn't matter? He looked uncomfortable for the first time. Good. He started fiddling with the sugar packets like they might save him. I didn't mean for it to be that night. It just happened. We were drunk. Everyone else had gone back to the hotel. She sat next to me on the balcony and started crying about you. Said you weren't the same. Said she felt invisible. And there it was. The convenient story. The blurred boundaries. The classic emotional cheating turned physical arc, where no one's really to blame, and everything just sort of happened. But what he said next hit different. She told me she was going to leave you. She said she already had a lawyer lined up. I blinked. That was new. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. He looked around like he was checking for cameras, then leaned in. Because she's losing it, man. She's showing up at my place. Calling my mom. Crying in the parking lot at work. She's saying I manipulated her. That I used her. I've got HR breathing down my neck. I'm about to get transferred to a different city. He paused. I think she's trying to blow everything up. I sat there, letting his words settle like dust. She wasn't spiraling because she missed me. She was spiraling because the fantasy fell apart. The man she threw away a marriage for didn't want her. Not really. He wanted access. Novelty. A story to brag about in bars and forget by winter. And now that it was messy, now that it hurt, she wanted to rewrite the story again. Turn him into the monster. Make herself the victim. Erase what she chose. He handed me a folded piece of paper. I wrote down everything. Dates, texts, screenshots. If it ever gets legal, I want you to know I didn't chase her. I didn't plan this. I didn't touch the paper. Instead, I looked him in the eyes and said, I don't care what you meant. I care what you did. Then I stood up, left $20 on the table, walked out into the parking lot, and halfway to my car, I realized I was done being the quiet one in everyone else's story. I didn't go home after meeting Kyler. I didn't go to Theo's either. I just drove. Miles passed under my tires like static. Empty streets. Dim gas stations. I didn't even know where I was going until I pulled into the parking lot of the lawyer's office I'd bookmarked 2 weeks earlier but never called. I sat in the car with the engine running, just staring at the building. I wasn't sure if I was ready to go through with it. Divorce had always sounded like such a loud, permanent word, like slamming a door hard enough to crack the frame. But that's the thing. She already burned the house down. I was just finally walking out of the ashes. I didn't book the appointment. Not yet. But I went inside, took a card, spoke to the receptionist, felt the weight of that first step, and I felt something else. Not sadness, not anger, relief. When I got back to Theo's, it was past midnight. I expected silence. Maybe Renee asleep on the couch again, half watching reruns. But instead, I found Theo in the kitchen, holding a manila envelope. He looked exhausted, pale, like whatever was in his hands had drained the blood from his face. She came by, he said. You weren't answering your phone. She just showed up. Wouldn't come inside. Just asked me to give you this. He handed me the envelope. No name, no writing, no seal, just the weight of it. I opened it slowly, expecting another letter. A guilt-riddled confession. Or worse, a legal threat, her playing offense before I had the chance. But it wasn't a letter. It was pictures, printouts, dozens of them, screenshots of texts, emails, calendar invites, photos of her and Kyler, some I hadn't seen before, some I had. One of them holding hands in a bar, one in an elevator mirror, one of her in our bed while I was on a work trip last fall. And then the last one. It was me, sitting on the floor next to the couch, holding her ankle while she pretended to be asleep. I remember that night. She said she had cramps. I stayed up all night bringing her water, rubbing her leg, massaging her temples. She never even opened her eyes. She'd taken a picture, captioned it on her phone. He tries so hard to be enough. I dropped the envelope. Not because I was angry, not because I couldn't look, but because I suddenly understood. She wasn't sorry. Not for the cheating, not for the lying. She was sorry the fantasy didn't work out. Sorry that Kyler rejected her. Sorry that I stopped chasing. Sorry that reality had the audacity to be real. She wanted me to see these photos now and feel broken. Guilt. Maybe even nostalgic. But all I felt was clarity. This wasn't love. This was performance. And I'd spent years applauding a show that never included me. The next morning, I made the call, booked the appointment, signed the first round of papers before lunch. No drama. No final showdown. Just a man quietly walking out of the role she cast him in. And the moment I clicked the screen shut, I finally breathed. The divorce was finalized on a rainy Tuesday that didn't feel symbolic at all. No poetic thunder. No emotional soundtrack. Just me sitting in a government office that smelled like dust and cheap carpet cleaner, signing my name like I was renewing a driver's license. She wasn't there. Her lawyer handled everything. Mine said, "Congratulations," like it was a graduation. I didn't know whether to laugh or throw up. But when I stepped outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight was slipping through the clouds in that weird, soft way it sometimes does after a storm. And for the first time in what felt like years, my chest didn't feel like it was caving in. I didn't go back to Theo's. I went home. Not the place we shared. I'd already given up the condo. Let her keep it. Let her have the furniture, the appliances, even the espresso machine she kissed with smeared lipstick that morning after. I moved into a small rental on the edge of town. Nothing fancy. Just me, a desk, a couch, and the plant I somehow hadn't killed yet. And silence. Beautiful, undemanding silence. At first, I hated it. I'd wake up expecting her voice. The shuffle of her slippers on the hardwood. The quiet hum of her complaining about the coffee being too hot. But eventually, I realized what I'd been mistaking for love was just noise. The kind that fills space but doesn't feed anything. I started walking more. Just around the neighborhood. No destination. No earbuds. Just my footsteps and whatever thoughts decided to come. I started journaling, something I hadn't done since college. Writing things not for her, not to defend myself, but just for me. I joined a stupid pottery class. Don't ask me why. I was the only man there, and I was terrible at it. But I liked the feel of the clay, the quiet, the way the instructor didn't care what I used to be or who I used to love. And a few weeks ago, I met someone. Not on an app, not through friends, just randomly, at a bookstore. She made a joke about how the self-help section should be rebranded as stuff your ex made you buy. I laughed. She smiled. I told her about the pottery class. She didn't laugh. She asked if I liked it. We've had coffee twice. No pressure. No expectations. No past dragging behind us like broken luggage. I don't know what it'll become. Maybe nothing. But for once, I'm not clinging to outcomes. Because I finally understand something no one ever taught me growing up. You don't need to win the breakup. You don't need revenge. You just need to get yourself back. And I did. Piece by piece. Step by step. Quietly. Beautifully.